I'm going to be going over Republicans surging in the state of Pennsylvania in voter registration. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the post bell notification button, and make sure to follow Twitter and join the Discord in the description down below. And so, pretty much, guys, the Republican Party in Pennsylvania has enjoyed some recent gains ever since Josh Shapiro decided it was a good idea to implement automatic voting registration at DMV sites and probably some other places too, but mostly DMVs. And so what's quite funny is that they started trying to register Democrats, but it's actually backfired on them to the point where their lead in May of 2020 in a voter advantage between Democrats and Republicans was 800,000 votes. Today, it is basically half of that. It is literally half of what has happened. And pretty much this many new voters joined. Democrats lost this many voters, and Republicans gained around 200,000 votes or so. And so the problem is that or at least for Democrats, the problem for them is that Republicans actually gained in all 67 counties for the first time, like ever. Literally in all first time in all of history, Republicans have actually gained in certain counties. And so what's actually funny about this is that they're actually gaining, not they're gaining in every county, but if you look at the electoral map here in Pennsylvania, if you look at the counties they're growing in are not, or at least growing faster, not the rural counties. It's actually the suburban slash major city area counties where Republicans are actually making the most gains. And funny enough, Philadelphia is where the Republicans have actually made the most gains, which is quite hilarious. And so basically the voting advantage between Democrats and Republicans has been cut in half since May 2020. And that is a major backfire on the Biden campaign. If you look at the map in 2020, the incumbent president lost re-election 306 to 232 and lost in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia by a couple of thousand votes. And what's funny is if you look at the electoral map here, if Trump is able to get Georgia, which this would hypothetically be Biden's best case scenario, which I do have him at 287 in a best case. So let's say Biden would get his best case. All Trump would have to do is flip Pennsylvania, and he actually already ends up winning the electoral college here. And what's actually quite funny about this is that this is a recent phenomenon in the polling data. But what's actually quite funny is that if you look at the three Rust Belt states, the five-way matchups with all the third-party candidates, Pennsylvania is actually Trump's best state polling wise. Wisconsin, Trump is up by 0.2%. Both candidates sit at roughly about 40%. Kennedy's about 9.6%. Stein and West are sitting at about 1.5% each. If we keep going to Michigan, you'll see that in the five-way aggregate, he's ahead by 2.3 in Michigan. He's a little bit more ahead of Biden in this scenario, sitting at about 40% there. Both of the candidates sitting at a similar range, but Biden is at a little bit less of a vote share there. And if we look at Pennsylvania, even though Biden is leading in the five-way aggregate or the two-way aggregate, if you look at the five-way race, Trump's actually up by 2.6% and has the highest vote share in this scenario out of the three Rust Belt states. And the polling that I'm actually considering using is the five-way race because that's going to be the actual matchup. You're not going to have a two-way race. And so if you look at the five-way aggregates for all of the states, Donald Trump is actually polling the highest in Pennsylvania in terms of his margin and actual raw vote percentage. And that might be explained due to the fact that Republicans are gaining in voter registration in that state. And if you look at the election shuffler, it's actually not that difficult to get this state to really flip. If Philadelphia, the city area alone, literally just shifts 3 points to the right, the margin in Pennsylvania becomes significantly closer. Trump would still have to perform pretty well in Philadelphia just to flip the state off alone from the city alone. But if, for example, Philadelphia shifts about 20 points to the right, it's basically DOA for Biden in the state. And if we were to basically shift every single county here, if we were to shift every single county by 2 points across the entire state, so Trump would basically be winning Northampton and Erie. If Trump literally just shifts every single county by 2% to the right, he ends up winning Pennsylvania by 0.8%. Now, does that mean every single county is going to shift to the right? No, I expect some of the suburban areas over here to probably shift a little bit to the left. However, I expect Trump to do significantly better in rural Pennsylvania this time around, even improving from his 2020 performance. I think he's going to do a lot better there. I think you're going to see a dip in turnout with the Biden administration, and Trump's rural margins are going to be a lot larger just because of the fact Biden's not going to get as many votes. And Trump will probably gain in Philadelphia proper, which will give Trump enough votes in order to win the state of Pennsylvania. And if we were to hypothetically do it, because, right, let's say, okay, they have closed the gap by 400,000 votes essentially. If you were to apply that to the election shuffler overall, so let's say every single state, let's say that's the case, right? So Republicans gain 400,000 more votes. He can win Pennsylvania up to 8 percentage points based off of that gain alone, as you see here. And actually, I haven't even done it all the way. There we go. So that's a little bit exactly around 400,000 votes. He can win the state upwards up to 10 points based off of that gain alone. So depending on the national environment, who turns out, Trump's ceiling in Pennsylvania is really high. Whereas for Biden, the problem for Biden is that Biden is going to be struggling in some of the rural counties. The only way that I could see Biden potentially winning Pennsylvania is if he makes massive gains in some of these counties. That's the only way that he'd be able to do that. And I think Trump's going to be able to turn out more of the Republican base that was missing from the 2022 midterms. And so Trump is really gaining in Pennsylvania overall and is going to have a much better chance at actually winning it this cycle. But the beautiful thing about it is that literally all Trump needs is to get Georgia, which I already have him winning in Biden's best case scenario. I still have Biden winning, excuse me, I still have Trump winning Georgia in Biden's best case scenario. And if he wins Pennsylvania, it's game over for Biden. Trump would automatically be the president. We wouldn't need to cover any more. Well, we would still cover, but like basically, we wouldn't need to win any more states, or at least Trump wouldn't have to win any more states this cycle in order to become the next president. He holds everything from 2020, which is shaded in red. He literally just gains Georgia and Pennsylvania, and he's already the president. So if Trump is doing really well, like if Trump's basically winning the popular vote, the election may be called at around 8 or 9 p.m. Or not 8 or 9, but it'll probably be around 10 or 11 p.m. because if Georgia's coming in strong, they'll probably call it at like 9 p.m., maybe like 9:30. And if Pennsylvania is like a couple points win for Trump, they'll probably call it at like 11, 12 a.m., somewhere around there, 11 p.m., 12 a.m. Eastern time. So if Trump is doing exceptionally well on election night, he only needs these two states to win the Electoral College. And if he's winning Pennsylvania, he's more than likely winning Wisconsin and Michigan as well. So he'd already have a floor of 295 electoral votes based off of that alone. And so his path to victory is very straightforward this election. All he needs is Georgia and Pennsylvania. It's as simple as that. And Republicans have gained significantly in these counties. Even as of the recent months, they've been gaining more and more votes. And they gain more votes in the suburban areas. In the major city areas is actually where they're getting the most votes out of, which I think is very interesting. They're getting the most votes out of those areas, which is quite hilarious. But that is basically it for this quick video. I kind of wanted to just talk about why Pennsylvania is surging for the former president and why Trump has a pretty good chance at winning it in 2024. If you guys did enjoy the video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure to hit the post notification bell, and make sure to follow the Twitter and join the Discord in the description down below. And make sure to tune in for 9 p.m.'s Pennsylvania stream. We're actually streaming the Pennsylvania primary tonight, so we'll be able to actually compare data, and I may even do an updated video. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this video, and we'll kind of gauge how well Trump is doing in the state of Pennsylvania based out of primary turnout. And so I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you guys later at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.